Okay, great. Okay, so let me start with my upbringing, because I haven't had a normal upbringing, whatever that is. So I was born in Thailand. I grew up in India. I grew up in Nepal. My parents were in Nepal. And when I was young, I already flew to India to go to boarding school. And I went to 2 different boarding schools in India. And I've lived all over Asia in terms of Bangkok, Hong Kong, India, Nepal is kind of my world. So although I'm European, I grew up very much influenced by multiculturalism in Asia. And that's probably always the number one question I get. Where are you from? And I'm like, well, how are you trying to contextualize me? This is always like my clarifying question. So I'm like, I guess I'm Swiss Asian. What do you say? But it's important to know this, because when I was 24, when I went to university in London after my boarding school in India, and I had a panic attack at 24 in the London Underground. And that was my pivotal life moment, because I didn't trust myself anymore. And it took me 9.5 years to figure out that I didn't trust myself. So I had a panic attack, absolutely horrible. I'm sure maybe some of you have slightly experienced that feeling of like, I'm gonna die, I'm not okay. And what happened then was I then had chronic anxiety, because my mind went to the place, I'm not safe, I'm not okay to be alone, I need other people so that I'm going to be okay. So that made me into a codependent person for a very long time. So I had very codependent relationships with men. So what I really want to share about my anxiety journey was I feared that I was going to get a panic attack again. So I didn't really have panic attacks. It was a one-time occurrence. But the fear was so big in me that it was going to happen again, that I wasn't able to be who I wanted to be, because I was stuck in this fear. The fear of, if I am alone, if I do certain things, I'm just going to get a panic attack. So I belittled myself and I made myself small. Now, that causes a lot of internal conflict and tension, because when you don't allow yourself who you want to be, you've got an internal struggle of like, why am I not like that? And I remember like looking at other women, I'm like, how can they be so confident? Like, what are they doing that they're like that? And it's just so feeling, I don't even think it was jealousy. It was my negative itty shitty bitty committee in my head just being like, why aren't you like this, Nora? Why aren't you normal? What is wrong with you? And so that perpetuated the cycle of anxiety and fear, and feeling shameful about who I was. So that's my backstory. And I just want to say that it didn't stop me from actually traveling. I was just a very nervous traveler, and home became very important for me. Okay, this concept of home, because at home I felt safe. And because I had a very mixed upbringing with my parents separating into different countries, the concept of home was reinforced, because I'm Swiss. I'm not Indian. So it's like that idea of belonging. And I'm going to touch upon all of these concepts again, because they are so important in who we are. So yeah, home, like think about, where's home for you? Do you feel connected to or not? Do you feel like you belong? Do you belong to your circle of friends? Because we live in a relational society. We live in relation to other people. So relationships are so important, and we don't know how to have proper and healthy relationships. And I'm not only talking love relationships, I'm talking about relationships to our parents or our friends or our colleagues or our bosses. Nobody teaches us that. Nobody teaches us that. So let me just backtrack again. I was in London, left London, went to university again in Australia. And now I had a habit of following men around the world, because men were my safety, right? I didn't have to be alone. They would always be with me. So from Australia, I had a Brazilian boyfriend. I moved to Sao Paulo. Of course, it didn't work out because of the codependency and my underlying anxiety. From Sao Paulo in Brazil, I moved back to India, had an Indian boyfriend who negated my existence because he didn't tell his parents about me for 1.5 years. So my self-worth went all the way down. And then I met a South African in India, in Delhi, and we moved to South Africa. And that was a emotionally abusive relationship where we couldn't separate from each other. And it was kind of in South Africa that I made, in Cape Town, that I made the decision that I don't know how to have a healthy relationship. I have anxiety really badly and I need to sort myself out. My father lives here in Bali and he kept saying to me, come to Bali. And I'm like, yeah, no, come to Bali. I'm like, who wants to go to Bali? And so I finally did when I broke up with my South African boyfriend. And that's when I really started to look at what's going on with me. What is this about safety and trust and confidence and femininity? Now, like when I was around 16 to, let's say, 18, 19, I was a very exuberant woman already. Girl, young woman, teenager, whatever you want to call it, okay? Going to boarding school in India, it was not okay to be that way, okay? It's a societal conditioning, covering the shoulders. Men, I don't know if any of you have been to India, but men stare in India out of curiosity, okay? And again, it was just like, oh, it's not okay to be me. And so I was always covering myself. I was very careful. I never had any sexual trauma, but I had experiences like in the train in Bombay, packed at rush hour, standing there and like I felt a man unzip my trousers and try and put his fingers into my pants. And I was just like, whoa, not safe again. So all of these experiences built up this feeling of like, I'm not okay being me, who I want to be isn't okay. In Indian culture, sexuality isn't talked about, so it can't be that way either. So I want you to start thinking about what is the societal conditioning and parental conditioning that you have around the idea of who you can or cannot be. And these are some of the questions that I ask myself daily. Okay, daily, because it's still all there. New things come up all the time. So feminine magnetism, and this is kind of when I moved to Bali, I became a photographer and I was shooting women, I call them artfully nude. So we'd go to the waterfalls and the rice fields and sunrise at the beach. And we would, I'd be like coaching them on how to feel really great about themselves so that they would get these beautiful images at the end and they would look at it and they were like, wow, like I love that. I love me. And because I was able to hold space for them to feel good about themselves, that's when I decided to kind of go into the coaching realm of like, photography is location independent. Let's see if I can reach more women and feeling confident. So the first things I was coaching in, it was confidence. How do you feel confident with who you are? Because so many of us lack certain aspects of confidence, whether it's body confidence, confidence in our abilities and skill sets, right? Again, I want you to start thinking about where is it that I feel like I'm not living up to some sort of expectations. Whose expectations, right? Your own? Are they really your own? Who did they come from? Where did these expectations come from? So feminine magnetism for me is really the art of owning who you truly are and really being clear in what my blocks are, like what your blocks are, and how are you going to overcome those. So it's being a confident, sexy, radiant woman. And some of the feedback that I get, so I used to feel like an elephant. Like that was my feeling, okay? I was like, I felt clumsy. I felt just really like cumbersome, and working through a lot of these feelings of shame I had from growing up and also having anxiety, it allowed me to be more free in my own expression. Now, I can guarantee you've all been to some sort of dance party, whether in a nightclub or ecstatic dance, and you see this woman on the floor and she just is having the biggest smile on her face and she's just radiating, and you're like looking at her and you're like, holy hell, like who is she? And I want some of that. And you're like either looking at her in jealousy, which means you think she has something that you can't have. That's what jealousy means. Or then you're looking at her in adoration and like, wow. And you kind of want to stand next to her and be like, can I get some of that? And that for me is that essence of capturing what feminine magnetism is. It's like you're so secure in who you are that it doesn't matter how you show up, but you show up from such a place of kindness and compassion and from the heart, because that is what true femininity is, right? Our positive pole is in our hearts for the feminine, okay? And then the masculine, it has a negative pole in their hearts, and their penis is the positive, and our, you know, vulva's vaginal canal is the negative. So it creates that circular loop. And I talk a lot about polarities also, because I actually teach relationships, okay? So I teach women how to be really confident about themselves so that they can be in a beautiful, conscious, healthy relationship with a man, a masculine man. So what stops us, okay? What stops us? You're like, feminine magnetism, great. I get the idea, yeah. And how, right? The question is always how. We understand cognitively in the brain. I get it. I get what self-love is. I get what confidence is. And like, yeah, but I don't feel it, right? How? How do I feel it? And this really was my big gap as well. And that's where embodiment comes in, okay? That's where embodiment comes in. And I went and I trained in India to do NLP, which is neuro-linguistic programming. It's understanding how the brain talks to the rest of our body and processes information so we can change feeling states. And I want you to make a note of this if you've never heard it before. Every single thing in life is because, and we want it, okay, everything that we want in life is because we think we are going to feel better when we have it. Every single thing in life, whatever we want, we're going to, I'm going to feel, you know, I want the boyfriend because I'm going to feel loved. Oh, I want, you know, the car because I'm going to feel wealthier, like whatever it is. And this is a great journaling question. I'm going to be popping journaling questions throughout this call also. Is what do I want? What do I desire? Okay, that's on one column. The next column, why do I want it? And how do I think I'm going to feel when I have it is the last column. Right? It's always about feeling. Always, always, always about feeling. Our life is here so we can feel things. And when I talk about feminine magnetism and aliveness and radiance, it's a woman who's truly connected to her sensuality. And sensuality is nothing but really an awakening of all your senses. So even right here, right now, as you're listening to me talking, can you notice and feel the air on your skin? Is it still? Is it warm? Is it slightly cool? Can you notice how your clothes feel on your skin? What's the furthest sound you can hear? And what's the closest sound? So it's really dropping into our senses, because it's through our senses that we process information. So we have the external world, external reality, and it's uncontrollable to an extent. Our immediate environment we can control, but the greater universe, the greater environment we can't control. It's through our senses. That is the filter that we make that we understand what's going on. Okay, external environment, senses, we form thought. Through our senses, we form thought. A thought we keep thinking over and over again becomes a belief. We have multiple beliefs in our life, okay? One of them, and I'll talk about daddy issues and like parental wounds and all of that, but like one of my big beliefs around my dad was like, I had to prove my love to him, okay? And I'll circle back to this point, but I just wanted to give an example there of a very strong belief I had. And beliefs inform our actions and our behavior. Oh, I can do this, I can't do this. And our actions and our behavior form our reality. So that is the process. So if you want to change your reality and you want to change how you're showing up, you've got to go back to the thought. Senses we can't change either. It's kind of hardwired to us, but we can change how we think. And this is very much where belief system work comes in. And I really want you to journal on what do I want? Why do I desire that? Why do I think I can't have it? Right? That might be an interesting one to see some of your beliefs coming up right there. And then how do I think I want to feel when I have it? Because the truth is you can feel all of those feelings right here and right now, and you don't need that in order to feel it. And that's where when Veronica was in my On Fire program, I was like, I call it manifestation on triple shots of matcha. Okay, when you're able to feel all the feelings of what you want right here, right now, that's when things happen, boom, immediately. That's manifestation. Feeling the feelings now. That's my simplest explanation of what manifestation is. Okay, I just got my notes here. So what stops us from being the women we want to be? Okay, what stops us? So underneath it all, and I've done 5 years of research onto this now. I'm a total neuroscience nerd. I love studying psychology of attraction, psychology of, because our brains are actually wired for war, okay? Our brains are not wired for love. They're wired for war. And when we understand that about ourselves, we can have so much more compassion about some of our subconscious programming. So we all want to be loved. Humans, foundationally, and this goes to every single one, want to be loved. Okay? Can't talk about animals, plants, anything. I'm talking about human species. We all want to be loved. Okay? And so we have a fear that we are not going to be loved. This is the foundational fear, every single one of us. And all of your beliefs, everything that you do in life is literally so that you can feel that you're going to get the love. And it's super important in relationships to realize this also, any type of relationship. So that informs how we then show up and how we believe we're going to get loved by according to how we show up. And I want you to, a really great question, and this is another great journaling question, is who do I want to be? Okay. Why I think I can't be that woman. And then what's underneath that? My favorite question to ask myself and anyone around me, any of my friends, men, anyone, what's underneath that? Okay, because most of our feelings, so okay, some of us numb our feelings, some of us can't access our feelings, some of us think we feel different things. So the question is like, how do I truly know what I'm feeling? It's by asking yourself, what is underneath this? If you get triggered, okay, you're having a fight with someone, just ask yourself, what's underneath this? What is one of my core needs that is not being met? So we fear rejection ultimately. And that fear of rejection is this fear of not getting the love that every one of us really truly wants. And nobody teaches us about love. Nobody teaches us how to get this kind of love, which is why this has become my biggest passion, because I had such dysfunctional relationships and I was like, what is going on here? I don't understand. Why is emotional intelligence or how to have a relationship taught in freaking school? Because it just hurts and I'm hurting myself. And that means I'm closing off my heart because I want love, but I don't believe it's out there and I'm going to get hurt. And then I turn into this like messy person trying to figure out what the hell's going on and who am I? And that's the biggest question. We're all asking, who am I? What's my purpose here? And I think purpose is a key thing I want to touch upon also, because when I had anxiety for so many years, I felt a lack of purpose. And that made me even more anxious because we want to contribute. We want to contribute to, we want to know that there is more than just me and my singular existence in this world. Yeah, we want to know that we are part of something bigger. Hi, remember I talked about belonging? We all want to belong, right? We all want to belong. Comes back to, we want to be loved. Okay, foundational psychological hardwired programming in our brains. So I want to talk about childhood because if you tell me any of your problems today or where you feel stuck or issues you've got going on, I can guarantee you I can tell you what happened in your childhood. And that's how obvious it is. Childhood is so important because particularly the ages from 0 to 7 is when we form our identity of ourselves, okay? When we are babies, our survival is reliant on our primary caretakers. And I say primary caretakers because some people were raised by their grandparents or they were adopted or, didn't have parents. So I'm very conscious of the terminology I use. And if your primary caretakers weren't there for your survival, you would die. Okay, so it creates this bond to survival that we have, that we need to start understanding in our adult lives, because I can guarantee you your inner child or children, because we have multitudes of inner children from all the different experiences we had, are throwing temper tantrums in your adult life. And this is probably, you can see it in your reactions to certain things. And we call it age regression. So let's say your parents always told you to shut up and go to your room. And so you shut down. It wasn't okay to have your voice heard in your family. So as an adult, this might appear as, you know, you can't do a Facebook Live. You can't be in front of people. You have social anxiety. It's not okay to be you because you're always told, no, shut up, go to your room. And when you're put onto a stage, age regression occurs and you shut down the exact same way you did as you did in childhood, because it was a safety and protection mechanism so that you could feel like you were going to get the love that you truly wanted as a child. So we all, every single one of us, there's not one person that doesn't have an unmet physical or emotional need from childhood. And this is the work you need to be doing, ladies. What happened in my childhood that created me to have this belief that I couldn't be who I wanted to be? And it was for the simple fact that I needed to be this certain person when I was younger so that I could think that I would get the love so I could survive, right? This all happens in our reptilian brain. So we have the brain core, the brain stem, which was first developed, and then second brain is the reptilian brain, and then it's the mammalian brain, okay? 3 different stages of evolution there. So all of this is hardwired in our reptilian brain, which means the amygdala, something happens, the amygdala gets triggered in like milliseconds, and then we go back into age regression and we go back into the belief, into the stories, and it's subconscious programming. And so if you truly want to be this exuberant, magnetic woman, it's like you need to do the inner work, which is what I think you're doing with Veronica, which is amazing. And I don't know if you've done any inner child work, but I highly recommend it, okay? The foundation of everything I do is tell me what happened in your childhood, right? What happened? How did your parents treat you? And I have a lot of women that are like, oh, I had an amazing childhood. I'm like, that's great, so did I. Now tell me more. Because there is so much to unpack from childhood. Okay, this is something I wanted to share also. So if you don't take responsibility for parenting your inner children now as an adult, you're going to end up seeking the validation and the help from somebody else outside in order to do that reparenting. And that's what causes unhealthy relationships. I have a gift for you. I'm going to give you my inner child meditation number 1 and number 2. Inner child meditation number 1 is you connecting and welcoming all the different ages you went through. So from 0 baby to 1 to 3, 4, I kind of go step up, and it's simply you welcoming that. So it's the introduction to this whole idea of what is an inner child and connecting. So do that one first, okay? The second one that you're going to do is inner child meditation 2, where you're going to call forth, and I want you to remember there is no right or wrong way to do this. So notice if you're starting to judge yourself and criticize yourself. I'm not seeing anything. What is this? Am I doing it wrong? I'm not good enough. No. Don't even go down that route, okay? There is no right or wrong way to do this. Inner child meditation 2, you're going to welcome one of your inner children into the space. And this is the one that most wants to be heard right now. Any pain or suffering we're going through in our life in this current moment wants to be witnessed. That's why it's appearing. So witnessing it means you're holding space for it, you're welcoming it without judgment and without saying it needs to change. And you can then ask it, what do you need from me? What do you want from me? And it will usually tell you. And if it doesn't tell you in the beginning, you can do it again and it will tell you again. It will tell you the more that you do it. Does that make sense? Yeah. So in this inner child meditation number 2, you're going to welcome in one of your inner children to come through the door, and you're going to observe it and welcome it and just say that I see you and I hear you. And you're going to notice, how's it standing? What is it wearing? What's the energy of this inner child of yours? And then you're going to ask it, like, what's going on? And how can I support you? And I want you to know that I will never leave you. Because what happens with internal conflict is we abandon ourselves. And ultimately, this means we're abandoning our inner child. And inner child integration has been the key in me being a very confident and clear woman, because I understand my unmet needs. And then I'm able to connect with myself. And because I studied conscious communication and authentic relating, similar to Veronica, for 5 years, I am also able to share that with whoever I'm with in a way that is supportive and appreciative. So there you go, inner child. Do you have any questions? You can type it into the chat if you do have any questions. Inner child meditation number 1, do that first, please. Inner child meditation number 2, do that second, please. And after each of those, journal, okay? Don't do them back to back. Spaciousness, right? Spaciousness allows for things to rise. What came up? What did you notice? I practice inner child hand-holding, I called it, almost daily, because she's there and she wants to be loved. I want to just share my screen about some of the physical and emotional needs from childhood, and then I'll share with you why this is so important. So let me share my screen. This is from a great book. Share. Okay, can you see the screen? Yeah? Okay, so this is from a book, Healing the Child Within, and this is a hierarchy of human needs. Number 1, survival. Number 2, safety. Number 3, touching and skin contact. Number 4, attention. Number 5, mirroring and echoing. So this is obviously from childhood, okay? Mirroring and echoing is like, oh, you're doing a really good job there. And yes, I hear you. And just echoing back what the child is doing. 6 is guidance. 7 is listening. 8 is being real. 9, participating. 10, acceptance. You can kind of read there, validation, respect, belonging, and love all come under acceptance. 11, opportunity to grieve losses and grow. 12, support. 13, loyalty and trust. 14, accomplishment. So the idea you have a sense of completion and you're making a contribution. Remember I told this, purpose. 15, altering one's state of consciousness, transcending the ordinary. Worlds of imagination come here. 16, sexuality. 17, enjoyment or fun, and I call this pleasure. 18, freedom, a sense of freedom to be you. 19, nurturing, feeling nurtured. 20, unconditional love. Now, that's a lot, okay? That is a lot of needs. And there's no one person who can give you all of these needs. There simply isn't. And this is why I say every single one of us has unmet emotional and physical needs. Okay, survival, safety, touching, skin contact. A baby which doesn't have any skin contact or touch dies. Like I think they did a scientific experiment, which is absolutely horrible, but I think they did. So yeah, I just wanted to share how important it is to understand the needs from childhood. And now you can translate into some of your needs that's going on in your life. Okay, because you cannot be seeking external validation for who you are from other people. It simply doesn't work. It causes you more insecurity, and that's insecurity is the opposite of confidence. I want to share with you an Instagram post I did also. So let me share this other screen. Share here, okay? I wrote this actually 2 days ago. What makes an embodied, mature, feminine woman? The ability to question her surface level emotions to reveal deeper hurts and fears that want to be compassionately witnessed, right? Questioning yourself, what's underneath this? What's underneath this feeling? What's underneath this fear? What's underneath this desire? The ability to share her needs, wants, and desires in a way that allows for the other to feel heard and appreciated in his own individuality as well. Okay, conscious communication. The ability to laugh at life's circumstances and navigate her emotions to higher frequencies with laughter and knowing that she can choose how she wants to feel at any moment. I'm going to touch upon this point after I share this. Let me just make a note. The ability to soothe her own inner child's loss of love wounds so they can play together again in her adult life without the fear of abandonment. The ability to freely express who she is as she knows her truest potential in life is to simply clear any fears around why she can't fully be herself. I'm going to post this on my Instagram so you can see that and write that down if you choose to. It's not there yet. I just noticed a spelling mistake, which I'm going to go and correct now. Okay, so an embodied, fully mature feminine woman. And that's kind of the core of my teaching, is how do you become this woman? So what is femininity in a woman? Okay, what does that feel like? Playfulness. You cannot be playful if you have a lot of insecurities, because you won't feel free to be playful. Playfulness is a highly attractive quality. Highly attractive, because it means you don't take yourself so seriously. And life is meant to be laughed at. We live in this crazy universe where shit happens all the fucking time. This is probably the biggest lesson I got from living so long in India. India is chaos, absolute chaos. You step outside and you have no idea what's going to happen. And some of my friends came to visit me, people I talked to, oh, have you been to India? They're like, I hate it. And I'm like, I totally get why. Because if you can't laugh at yourself and the circumstances while you're in India, it's going to trigger the fuck out of you. All right. So just know this. I had one of my one-on-one clients, I did couples coaching as well. And I was like, you need to have a non-negotiable date night because they have a kid. They don't do anything together. I'm like, great, non-negotiable date night, go and do that. And so they did it. And then she came back on the call like 2 weeks later and she's like, Nora, it was terrible. I'm like, why? She's like, you know, we both kind of like had injured feet. So we were like hobbling around, and then we went to a diner and the burgers were crap and it was an absolute disaster. And I'm like, great, can you laugh about it? And she was like, yeah, because it's funny when you really think about it. So playfulness. Now, as children, we are naturally playful because it comes from a curiosity, because we're trying to identify who we are in relation to everything around us. What happens as we grow older, we get asked to stop asking so many questions, right? Children unabashedly ask whatever's on their mind because they want to know. And in authentic relating, there's a great game called the curiosity game, where you sit in front of someone and you follow that natural desire to know inside you. And you get to ask those questions. They have a choice whether or not they want to answer it, but you get to follow that desire. That is also how to never have a boring conversation ever in your life, if you tune into the natural curiosity you have in you. We become so accustomed to our life and the people around us because it's how the brain processes the two major functions that it needs: conservation of energy, so it will continuously go down the same neural pathways it has already established because it's conserving energy, which is why it's so hard to change a belief. Okay, what's the other one? I forgot it. Safety. Okay, when we know our environment, we think that we're safe. Our brains are constantly asking, am I at risk? Am I safe? Am I lost? Am I home? Constantly, it's constantly asking this. It's in the neural programming. So when you feel lost, unsafe, you'll navigate towards safety because it equals survival. The brain equals survival. Understand that. The brain wants to survive. Playfulness, curiosity. How can you be more playful in your life? How can you take yourself less seriously? And now if you have a very, very strong shitty itty-bitty committee in your head, it's very difficult to do that, and I get that. And you need to look at why am I being so hard on myself? What's the should? It's always a should. Okay, I should be doing this, I should be like this. Where did it come from? Was it your idea? No. What happened in your childhood? So go back to your childhood. Beauty is part of femininity and being really in your feminine. Create beauty. Women are beautiful. We love to create. Creativity is another one. We birth life. So a big question I had in my life was, how can I create beauty around me every single day? And what does that look like? And beauty is a feeling. What beauty is for one person might not be beauty for another. I never wore makeup. I wore pretty daggy clothes. So like loose fitting, didn't feel comfortable in a lot of clothes because I was really insecure when I had anxiety for so long. And so I made it a big mission to dress where I felt sexy and confident every single day. And I still do it to this day. It is a non-negotiable in my life to dress so I feel so freaking good. And I don't do it for anyone. I do it for myself. So I have a KonMari hack for confidence for your wardrobe. Go through your wardrobe and then it's like, does this make me feel sexy? Does this make me feel confident? And if it doesn't, hint, hint, you still have those granny panties, which you use for your period, right? Check them out. Buy some sexy lingerie. I never used to wear lingerie. I never used to wear G-strings. Fucking love them now. They make me feel sexy. Go through your wardrobe, hold it up, put it on. Do I feel fucking feminine and magnetic in this? If the answer is no, put it in a box, close the box, put it in the corner for 6 months. If you haven't opened that box in 6 months, don't open it, and it goes to charity. Straight away. You don't need it. You don't need it anymore. So that's one of my own hacks is dressing so that I feel really, really good. Movement, very big part of the feminine. So in Indian philosophy, there's Shiva. He is the god of consciousness. He represents stillness, purity of stillness and peace. Shakti, on the other hand, is the goddess, the representation of goddess, of vibration, of aliveness of the feminine. Shiva, the masculine, Shakti, the feminine. Shiva is inert and nothing happens because he's in pure bliss consciousness. But that means there's no worlds created. It's only because of the movement and vibration of Shakti coming to Shiva that the worlds are created as we know them. So this is the traditional Indian philosophy. Therefore, the feminine is meant to move. So if you're feeling stuck energy, it means ask yourself, what am I doing in my life that I'm not allowing this energy to flow? So for me, movement was a big part of my own healing, my feminine wound of like, I can't be this kind of woman. And going to, I just remember when I first lived in Ubud, just being so insecure about going to ecstatic dance. Like there's so many people there, they're all going to be looking at me and just being so awkward. So sensuality came in for me. It's like, how can I connect to my own body and feel my own body? Here, let me just make a note. I'm going to give you my Sensual Sunday playlist. It's my favorite sensual songs. So I'll add that in as well. And my recommendation is to put on the music and just drop into what does it feel like to be you in relation to this music and move that way. So I do a lot of embodiment classes around sensuality also, because a lot of women I find are stuck in that. It's not okay to be sensual. Sensuality is not like sexuality. They're intermingled, but they're not the same. Sensuality is an enlivening of your life experience through your senses. And that's that quality of, whew, I'm alive right now. Like right now, where are your feet? Can you feel your feet? Are they, on the floor? Are they in socks? It's continuously opening your awareness to be in the moment, to be even more in the moment. Movement, beauty, play, curiosity, nurturing, creating beauty. Those are very much qualities of the feminine. And just ask yourself, how can I welcome more of those into my life? How can I welcome more of all of those into my life? So take a breath here. So I wrote a book last year in 5 days, okay? It's called Confident, Sexy, and Wildly Free. How to own your worth, ditch the self-doubt, and not give a fuck what other people think of you. Because that's truly, okay, what it's all about. And I want to read you a little bit of the intro and the outro to kind of conclude this call. So this is a poem I wrote. Every day, it's me I wake up to. My skin still hugging me tightly, even though I didn't ask for any love. My heart still swirling all alone on the dance floor because it didn't give up on me. It's not me I pray to, soft whispers of words on my lips. My devotion rising and falling in love with you, not me. And every day, it's me I wake up to. But it's not me I dream about, eyes flirting with the imagined reality of your beauty before me. Every day, it's me I wake up to, and yet it's not me I long for. So that is how I was feeling in the beginning. And to end it, I'll read this. What you really desire. What is it you truly desire? You may think you desire the man to feel the love, or maybe it's the best girlfriends who you can travel to paradise islands like Bali with. Is it luxury, 25K cash months, or the dress from Topshop that are pinned to your digital vision board? Is what you desire happiness? Maybe it's self-worth. Yes, I know you want that. And you definitely want to feel loved. It's all the above, and there is more. What you as a woman truly desire is freedom. I know deep down there's this desire for complete freedom in self-expression. The freedom to wear whatever, and I mean whatever, you want at any time. The freedom to walk up to any man and be confident in just saying hello. The freedom to sexually express yourself. The freedom to be that crazy woman on the dance floor with a smile so wide it blinds. The freedom to not care about how you look, daggy, sexy, mum-like, or red carpet queen. The freedom to say fuck it and just do you. I know because I had the same desires. Insecurity was my norm. I constantly doubted myself. My lack of self-worth was akin to me climbing the tallest mountain that never seemed to end. Such a motherfucking struggle. You've read this book because you have the same feelings. Sucky, shitty, shamey feelings. You go through phases of being fine, feeling pretty good about yourself and your life, and one day you aren't fine. Bed seems like the perfect way to do life since you don't have to see anyone or face anything. And yet the job calls, you put on your pretty makeup face on to look fine and get on with it. Friends make you laugh, wine makes you feel better, and throughout it all, the underlying niggle of listlessness is never totally gone. You are not fine, and you are barely getting on with it. Freedom is screaming your name, and yet you are caged within yourself, scrambling to see if you can fit through the bars. But you can't. Tired of yourself, you sit in the corner and think, is this it? Am I destined to be this awkward, caged, self-hating, and doubting all my life? No, you're not. There isn't even a key to find to unlock the cage. It's you who put that cage around yourself. Once you start the journey towards yourself, the struggle fades with it and the cage simply dissolves. The journey starts with you screaming your head off inside the cage. It's the awareness that you are in a place you don't want to be. You can scream all you want and you know the cage isn't going anywhere. It's your own hard steel lockdown. As you grow weary of yourself, the internal screaming subsides. It's time to start the digging. It's time to find the thoughts you keep thinking, which are creating your beliefs and belief systems, which in turn are ruling your external actions, those same external actions which create the very reality of the cold-hearted cage you find yourself in. You have started to unravel those thoughts of self-hate, self-doubt, self-pity, self-criticizing, and self-victimizing. You have started because you recognize right now that you don't want to feel small, insecure, and shy anymore. You want the freedom to be you in all of your fullness, womanness, and aliveness. What you truly desire is freedom. Freedom from yourself to be yourself. freedom from the ideas of who you cannot be, because in reality, it's only you who is imagining the cage to be real. And this is the last page. And in between, I found myself. Stripped of my shame, my edges slowly softened. A sigh of relief glistening on my lips, my eyes closed and body moving. And in between, the inhale and exhale, my seeing and knowing, I found myself, softly enfolded by my own sweetness. I sat and waited for myself for years, and it was only in between I noticed I was missing. Thank you, ladies. It was an absolute pleasure. I'm happy to answer any of your questions. You can take yourself off mute. Find me on Instagram. That's kind of my main platform, at Nora Wendel, my full name. I've got a current course that's just enrolling right now. You can ask me about that if you want. And my book will be launched July, I think. Yeah, on Amazon. Here for you.